Hello my beautiful gardening family, Jackson here, and if you think August means the planting season is basically over, I need you to stop right there, because that mindset is exactly how gardeners miss some of the smartest planting opportunities of the entire year. A lot of people walk out into the garden in August, feel the heat, see a few tired plants, and assume the big growing push is behind them. They tell themselves they'll wait for next spring. They tell themselves it's too late, too hot, or too risky to plant anything meaningful now. And that right there is where the regret begins. Because August is not just an ending, August is also a setup month. It is the bridge between what your garden was and what your garden can still become. In fact, some of the best fruiting plants you can put in the ground, in containers, or into prepared beds during August, can reward you faster, stronger, and more generously than the plants people panic buy in spring without a plan. And the truth is, when you understand what to plant in August, you stop looking at this month like a shutdown. You start seeing it as a hidden opportunity. Warm soil, long enough days, and the ability to get ahead of cooler weather can work in your favor if you make the right moves right now. So in today's video, I'm going to share 5 fruits you will deeply regret not planting in August. Some of these can give you harvests surprisingly soon. Some of them are all about getting established now, so they explode later. And every single one of them has a reason it belongs on this list. Stay with me all the way to the end, because after I go through all 5, I'm going to rank them in order of urgency and payoff, and I promise you, the one that deserves the top spot is probably not the one most people would guess. Cool. Let's get into it. Number 5 is cucumbers. Now I know what some people are thinking already. Cucumbers, in August, isn't that too late? And the answer is, not necessarily. In a lot of gardens, especially if you still have a decent stretch of warm weather ahead, August is actually a fantastic time to plant cucumbers for a cleaner, fresher, and often more productive late-season run. Here's why. Early summer cucumbers often struggle through the hardest conditions of the year. They deal with intense heat, erratic watering, pest pressure, disease buildup, and plain old exhaustion. By the time many gardeners reach August, their cucumber vines look rough, their production slows down, and the fruit quality drops. So they assume cucumbers are done. But often, it's not that cucumbers are done. It's that those cucumber plants are done. And that's a huge difference. Fresh cucumber plants started in August can come out with new energy. They don't carry the same wear and tear as those older vines. They can take advantage of warm soil to germinate fast. And if your nights begin to soften just a little later in the month, that new growth often looks stronger, healthier, and more balanced than what you were getting in peak summer misery. This is especially true if you choose fast-maturing varieties. You do not want to gamble on slow plants here. You want quick, vigorous, productive cucumbers that are known to set fruit early. That matters. August is not the time to be casual about variety selection. If you plant a cucumber that wants to take forever, then yes, you may very well regret it. But if you plant a quick producer, keep it watered, and stay ahead of pests early, you can absolutely squeeze meaningful production out of a late sowing. And let me tell you where gardeners go wrong with this. They assume because the calendar says late summer, they can relax on care. No, a young cucumber planting in August needs support. It needs consistent moisture. It needs mulch if you garden in hot conditions. And it needs to be watched closely while it's small. Because if those baby plants dry out even once during a brutal hot stretch, they can stall before they ever really start. But if you care for them properly, August cucumbers can feel like a reset button. Cleaner leaves, better shape, better vigor, better tasting fruit, less frustration than babying those old declining vines and hoping they somehow come back to life. Another reason people regret skipping cucumbers in August is simple: succession planting. Smart gardeners don't try to squeeze one exhausted planting for the entire year. They refresh, they reset. They understand that timing is not just about when you start, it's also about when you restart. So if your first cucumber planting is tired, bitter, diseased, or barely producing, do not emotionally cling to it. Replace it. That is one of the most important gardening lessons you can learn. A struggling plant is not a family heirloom. If it has given what it can give, thank it and move on. Planting cucumbers in August is often the difference between ending your season disappointed and extending it with crisp, beautiful harvests that remind you why you planted them in the first place. That is why cucumbers absolutely deserve a place on this list. Number 4 is summer squash, especially zucchini. Now this one surprises people too, because zucchini has a reputation for being planted early, producing like crazy, and then turning into a giant messy beast if you let it go too long. And honestly, that reputation is deserved. But what many gardeners never take advantage of is the fact that a fresh August planting of summer squash can be one of the smartest ways to enjoy this crop without dealing with months and months of decline. Let me explain. Early plantings of zucchini and summer squash usually run into the same set of problems over time. Squash vine borers in some regions, powdery mildew, overcrowded leaves, battered stems, inconsistent pollination, and general fatigue. The plant may have started like a champion, but by late summer, it often looks like it has lived 5 lifetimes. So gardeners assume squash season is over. But again, just like with cucumbers, sometimes the issue is not the crop. The issue is the age and condition of the current planting. A young August zucchini planting can give you something precious, a second chance, a reset, a new flush of healthy growth when your older plantings are limping to the finish line. And if you choose compact or fast-maturing varieties, that second planting can move quickly enough to reward you before conditions turn against it. The big advantage here is that warm soil speeds things up. Squash does not like dragging its feet in cold ground. In August, germination can be fast, root development can be fast, and plant establishment can happen quickly if water is consistent. That means you are not waiting around forever for movement. These plants can hit the ground running. Now, I do want to be real with you. Summer squash is not a plant you can just toss into the garden and ignore, especially in late summer. You have to think strategically. You need airflow. You need clean spacing. You need to avoid crowding. You need to keep foliage as dry as possible when you water. And if your area has strong pest pressure, you need to inspect the plants early and often. That said, there is something deeply satisfying about a late-season zucchini planting done right. The plant stays manageable longer, the harvest window feels more concentrated and productive, and you are often dealing with a younger, more vigorous plant at the exact moment your older one is wearing out. Another reason people regret not planting zucchini in August is psychological. By this point in the season, many gardeners are emotionally tired. They assume the best part is behind them, so they stop making moves, they stop replacing, they stop sowing, they stop believing the garden still has another chapter, and because of that, they miss one of the easiest ways to bring fresh momentum back into the space. A new zucchini planting changes the energy of the garden. It gives you something active, something hopeful, something moving forward instead of simply fading out. And gardening is not only about harvest, it is also about rhythm. It is about staying engaged with the season instead of mentally checking out too soon. If you still have enough warm time left, and especially if your first squash planting is falling apart, August is a powerful moment to start again. Skip it, and you may spend weeks staring at old, miserable plants when you could have had fresh ones pushing hard. That regret is very real. Number 3 is cherry tomatoes. Now, before anyone says, there is no way tomatoes belong on an August planting list, let me make this very clear. I am not talking about starting giant slow tomatoes from seed and expecting miracles in every climate. I am talking about being smart, realistic, and strategic. In warmer regions, long-season climates, protected spaces, or with strong transplants and quick varieties, August can absolutely be the month that saves your tomato season from mediocrity. And even outside the hottest regions, many gardeners still have room to work with if they choose the right type. That right type, most of the time, is cherry tomatoes. Why cherry tomatoes? Because they are faster. They are usually more forgiving. They set fruit earlier. They ripen faster. And they continue producing under conditions that make larger tomatoes sulk, crack, or delay forever. If you're going to make a late move with tomatoes, cherry types give you the best odds. Here's what happens in a lot of gardens. The spring tomato planting looked exciting. Everybody had big hopes, but then disease rolled in, temperatures spiked, moisture got inconsistent, and suddenly those once promising tomato plants are tall, tired, patchy, and underperforming. The fruit is slower, the leaves look rough, the enthusiasm is gone. That is the moment when a lot of gardeners give up. But the better move, when your climate allows it, is to replace disappointment with speed. A fresh planting of healthy cherry tomato transplants in August can be a game changer. The key word there is healthy. Do not plant weak, root-bound, stressed-out leftovers and expect them to carry your hopes. Start with strong transplants. Give them fertile soil, support them immediately, water deeply and consistently, mulch them. And most importantly, choose varieties that are known to mature quickly and keep going. Cherry tomatoes are one of the most rewarding late-season fruiting plants. because they give back fast. They don't ask you to wait forever. And when cooler nights begin to edge in, the flavor often gets even better. That is something gardeners never forget. A tomato picked from a healthy, late-season plant at the right moment can taste cleaner, sweeter, and more balanced than fruit from a stressed summer planting. And let's talk about a mistake people make with tomatoes in August. They assume all tomato planting is the same. It isn't. Timing changes the rules. When planting this late, you have to drop the ego and increase the realism. This is not the time to chase giant beefsteaks unless you know for a fact your season supports that decision. This is the time to prioritize maturity, speed, resilience, and actual success. There is nothing glamorous about planting the wrong tomato and watching it stay green while the season runs out. And there is nothing more satisfying than planting the right tomato and watching clusters of fruit arrive when everyone else assumed the window had already closed. That is why cherry tomatoes belong high on this list. They are not just a crop, they are an attitude adjustment. They remind you that in gardening, timing is not about what everyone else says is normal. It is about what your conditions still allow. If your region gives you the runway, cherry tomatoes in August can be one of the best decisions you make all year. Number 2 is strawberries. And now we get to one of the biggest regret plants of all. Because strawberries are one of those crops that gardeners constantly say they want more of, but they keep delaying the actual moment of planting. They tell themselves they'll deal with it later. They tell themselves spring is a better time. They tell themselves they're too busy right now. And then next year comes, and they are buying berries again, wishing they had just set their strawberry bed up when they had the chance. For a lot of gardeners, August is a brilliant time to plant strawberries, especially if you are using healthy runners or transplants, and you want strong root establishment before colder weather arrives. And this is where smart gardeners think differently. They stop asking, "Can I harvest right away?" and start asking, "How do I set up a much better harvest later?" That question changes everything. Strawberries reward foresight. They reward planning. They reward people who understand that not every great gardening decision pays off in the same week. Some of the most powerful decisions are the ones that build your next season before your current season is even finished. When you plant strawberries in August, you are taking advantage of warm soil that helps roots establish quickly. The plants can settle in, anchor, and begin developing before winter slowdown arrives. That root development matters more than people realize. A well-established strawberry planting has a completely different future than a last-minute, rushed, spring-planted patch that never really got comfortable. And here's one of the biggest reasons people regret not planting strawberries in August. Spring is crowded. Spring is chaotic. Spring is when gardeners try to do everything at once. Beds need prep, seeds need sowing, transplants are piling up, weeds are surging. And that strawberry bed you swore you would build, it gets pushed aside again. August gives you a chance to do it with intention. You can prepare the area properly. You can improve the soil. You can decide whether you want an in-ground bed, a raised bed, or a container system. You can space the plants well. You can mulch properly. You can water consistently. You can build the strawberry patch like someone who plans to succeed, not like someone stuffing one more chore into spring chaos. Another mistake people make is underestimating how much strawberries love a clean start. Good spacing, healthy crowns, weed control, and moisture consistency all make a massive difference. A neglected strawberry patch quickly becomes a frustrating patch, but a well-established one becomes one of the most joyful parts of the garden. And let's be honest, strawberries are emotionally powerful. They are the kind of fruit that makes people feel rich in the garden. Even a small harvest feels special. Even a handful feels like a win. Kids love them. Adults love them. Fresh-picked strawberries have a completely different personality than store-bought ones. The flavor, the softness, the aroma, the sweetness when fully ripe on the plant, none of that compares. So when gardeners miss the August window and end up waiting, they don't just lose time, they lose momentum, they lose establishment, they lose a head start that could have made next season dramatically better. That is why strawberries are not just a nice idea for August. In many gardens, they are one of the smartest moves you can make. And number 1 is peppers, especially smaller, faster, more productive pepper types in warm climates or protected setups. Now hear me out on this one, because this is where a lot of people underestimate August in a big way. Peppers are one of the most misunderstood late-season opportunities in the garden. People often think of peppers as spring-only crops, and that's because they are used to treating them like a single annual event. Plant once, hope for the best, and ride it out. But in long warm seasons, hot regions, mild fall areas, and even in containers that can be protected or moved, peppers planted or reset in August can be incredibly rewarding. And if your spring peppers struggled, stalled, got damaged, or never really became what you hoped, then skipping an August pepper opportunity can become one of the most painful gardening regrets of the year. Here's why peppers matter so much. Unlike some crops that simply survive heat, peppers often love warmth once they are established. The problem is not always the season. The problem is timing, plant quality, and momentum. Weak peppers planted poorly can sit there forever, but healthy pepper transplants put in at the right time, in the right conditions, can move with surprising purpose. And if you choose compact, earlier producing pepper types, especially smaller sweet peppers, snack peppers, shishitos, or many hot peppers, you increase your odds dramatically. These are not slow giant bell peppers you are forcing into a deadline. These are smart pepper choices that know how to perform. One of the reasons people regret not planting peppers in August is that late-season peppers can actually be easier to manage in some places than spring peppers were. By late summer, the soil is warm, root activity is fast, growth can take off quickly if water and fertility are in balance, and once the worst extremes begin to soften just a little, pepper plants often respond beautifully. But I want to emphasize something important. You must be honest about your climate here. If your season is about to slam shut, and you have no protection, no containers, and no warm runway ahead, then do not force this one. But if you live somewhere with a long fall, warm autumn, or the ability to shelter plants, August peppers can be amazing. Peppers also deserve the #1 spot for another reason. They give you flexibility. You can grow them in beds, raised planters, buckets, grow bags, greenhouse corners, protected patios, or sunny sheltered spaces. They are one of the easiest fruiting plants to extend with strategy. And when gardeners skip peppers in August, they often regret it because they realize too late that this was the crop they could have kept going with just a bit more planning. There is also a quality issue here. Homegrown peppers harvested at the right stage are outstanding. Crisp sweet peppers, deeply flavorful hot peppers, productive clusters on compact plants, beautiful color transitions as they ripen. And because smaller and earlier types can load up so generously, one smart August planting can give you far more satisfaction than forcing along big tired spring plants that already told you they were done. So yes, peppers take the top spot on my list of fruits you'll deeply regret not planting in August, if your climate supports the move and you choose wisely. Now, as promised, I want to rank these 5 in order of urgency and practical importance, because this is where strategy matters more than excitement. If I had to rank them by what you should prioritize first, #1 in urgency would actually be strawberries. And I know that surprises some people, because strawberries are not the flashiest crop on this list, and they may not give you the fastest gratification. But that is exactly why they are so often neglected. They are incredibly easy to postpone, and every time you postpone them, you lose establishment time that could have set you up beautifully for the next season. Strawberries are the crop people mean to plant and then regret not planting. So if you are serious about long-term payoff, do not keep pushing them back. Second in urgency would be cucumbers. Why? Because cucumbers move fast, but only if you get them going while your warm window still exists. Wait too long, and you can lose the speed advantage that makes them worthwhile. A fresh cucumber planting can turn your late season around, but only if you act while the conditions still support a quick climb. Third would be zucchini or summer squash. Again, this is a second chance crop. It is all about replacing tired plants with fresh momentum. But you need enough time for that momentum to become a harvest, so do not drag your feet. Fourth would be cherry tomatoes. Not because they are less valuable, but because they depend more heavily on smart variety choice and climate runway. If you can do them, they are fantastic. But you need to be realistic, not romantic. Quick tomatoes, healthy transplants, and enough time left. Those are the keys. And fifth in urgency, though still highly worthwhile in the right conditions, would be peppers. Now before anybody panics, I am not saying peppers are least important overall. I am saying peppers are the most climate dependent on this list. In the right place, they can be absolutely incredible. In the wrong place, planted too late without protection, they can turn into wishful thinking. So peppers are powerful, but only when matched honestly to your season. And that right there is the deeper lesson behind this whole video. August planting is not about randomly stuffing plants into the ground and hoping inspiration turns into harvest. It is about timing with intelligence. It is about matching the crop to the window. It is about replacing tired plants instead of babysitting decline. It is about using the season that is still in front of you instead of mourning the part that already passed. Too many gardeners live emotionally behind the calendar. They garden based on habit, not observation. They plant because spring says plant. They stop because late summer says stop. But the best gardeners are more flexible than that. They pay attention to conditions, to soil warmth, to first frost timing, to crop maturity, to plant health, and to momentum. That is how you stretch a season. That is how you improve year after year. So if your garden looks a little tired right now, do not assume the story is over. Some of the smartest growers I know do their most strategic work when other people are mentally checked out. They plant while others pause. They reset while others complain. They prepare while others procrastinate. And that difference adds up. So take a look at your space. Be honest about your climate. Count your remaining warm days. Decide whether you are planting for a quick harvest, a late season reset, or a stronger next season. Then make a move, because regret in gardening is very rarely about the things we tried. Most of the time, it is about the things we kept delaying until the opportunity passed. And August is one of those months where opportunities pass quietly. Do not let that happen to you. Hello again, gardening family. Jackson here, and I hope this gave you real clarity, real motivation, and a real plan. If you were waiting for a sign to keep going, this is it. Your garden still has more to give, and with the right planting choices, August can become one of the most valuable months of your whole season. Thank you so much for listening. Take care of yourselves, take care of your garden, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye, and happy gardening.